Hey guys, welcome to the webinar today. We're super excited to have you. I see a lot of people rolling in here already, which is super exciting. So we're just going to give a couple minutes here for everyone to join. In the meantime, where's everybody joining from today? I think you can use the chat down there at the bottom. Oh, Q&A section, not chat. Reston, awesome. Yeah, here in the Northern Virginia area. From Raleigh, North Carolina. I love it down there. My mom lives in North Carolina. It's just beautiful all across the state. Toronto, Phoenix out on the West Coast. I'm not much for the desert myself, but it's nice out there. Awesome, guys. Denver. Got people from all over the place. San Francisco. I was honestly expecting more DC, more Northern Virginia. We got plenty of Marylanders, which is great. But there's people from all over. That's great. Well, welcome in, guys. We're super glad to have you. We're really excited about the presentation today. I'm excited to be here at least. Awesome. Northern Michigan. I've always wanted to buy a couple acres on the Northern Peninsula or the Upper Peninsula, I think they call it, up there in Michigan and just, you know. No, guys, sorry, the chat is disabled. That's my fault. I meant use the Q&A. Sorry. So you guys are good to go. You guys can ask questions, throughout in the Q&A, but that chat will be turned off for you. Denver. I think AP&P, the BPC, the Bid and Proposal Conference, is going to be in Denver next year, which we're really excited about at Procurement Sciences. So that's pretty cool. I'm seeing some Denver pop up throughout here. Oh, Sherry down in Florida. Yeah, that's I'm a little jealous today. I can't lie. Here in Virginia, it's just a little dreary. Silver Spring. It's nice around the DC area. It's nice to not have that heat too. It's been really hot and muggy lately. Overcast today.
All right, awesome. It looks like we've got a few hundred people have joined us already, so I think we can go ahead and get started. So, hi everyone, and welcome to AI Prompting 101, Master the Art of AI-Driven Proposal Success, hosted by Procurement Sciences. We are so excited to have so many of you joining us today. Looks like we even have people from London, so that's super cool. A few housekeeping notes before we begin. Please use the Q&A section located at the bottom of your screen throughout the webinar to ask any questions. Sam will be sure to use the last 10 to 15 minutes to get through as many questions as possible. If we do not get to your question, don't worry, we'll have them all logged and we will reach out to you post-webinar to get those answered for you. We will also be recording the session and we'll send that out to all registrants by tomorrow morning. So feel free, you can share it with any of your team members who may have missed it today. So again, thank you guys for joining us. And with that, I will pass it off to Sam.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Summer. I appreciate it. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started here because we do have a lot to get through. Um, but I'm really excited. Yeah, welcome, guys, to AI Prompting 101. Really, what I want to do today is I want to cover off on a ton of information about AI, what we're seeing in government contracting, and importantly, what's making teams successful, right? How are teams having the most success bringing AI, into their workflows? And just for a little background, I am Sam. Of course, it's great to be here with everyone. I'm a senior solutions engineer with Procurement Sciences. So I've worked training thousands of our users, and of course, working with technology, with product. So bring a ton of experience, hopefully a little bit of perspective to the table today. So just kind of to set the stage, right? Who is Procurement Sciences? Why are you guys, listening to me and what is it that we do? We're the team behind Awarded AI, right? So really we're the industry leading platform for AI and government contracting. We help teams find, win through competitive procurements with, proposal process, and then even deliver, on contracts in the GovCon space with AI. So it's been great, ton of growth over the past couple years. And what we've really been able to do is build a great customer base that spans from, smallest to small businesses right up to some of the largest government contractors. And so to be a part of that, kind of draw on those bits and pieces of insight and learn some of those best practices has been, a really, really cool experience. I know for me, but I think also, for everyone on the team. Okay, so what do I want to cover today, right? We're going to talk a little bit first about AI overall in government contracting, what we're seeing, kind of how adoption's going, how AI is really changing the space. And then of course, we're going to talk about prompting. What I really want to focus on is prompting is super important, right? It's really, really important for successful implementation of AI. If you really want to unlock the power, prompting is your key when it comes to AI. We'll talk about some advanced prompt engineering strategies too, but my goal today is really to break it down and make it easy, make it approachable for you guys to come in and find value with any, AI tool that you're working with on day one. Because I think there's a lot of confusion or hesitation. And so we really want to make it simple, make it easy. And that's going to be my goal today. Of course, we'll talk about the future of AI and GovCon, kind of how the industry right now is kind of pivoting. There are some new paradigms out there. People are starting to think about AI and prompting and context in a new way, which is really cool. And then, of course, we'll touch on, pitfalls to avoid, trends. So that's a little bit of the layout for today, guys. So dive right in here, right? The AI revolution and really how government contracting is changing. Before we jump in here, though, I do want to pose a question just to the audience. How do you guys rate your AI skill level, right? Do you feel like you're experts? Are you just getting started? Have you never touched AI before, right? Feel free to hop in the Q&A there. I just want to see, kind of rough gauge how are people thinking of themselves relative to AI? You guys newbies, or do you feel like you're experts? Novice one. Got a couple fours. Okay. Awesome. Couple advanced, brand new to it. Looks like we have a pretty good mixed bag here. That's awesome, guys. That's good. Hopefully, this will be, equally valuable to, the newbies as it will be to the experts here. And by the way, I saw a question in the chat. Are we going to share the slide deck? We absolutely will. Um, yeah, that's awesome, guys. Looks like, yeah, certified prompt engineer, super user. Happy to have Sherry on the call. Awesome, guys. Well, cool. Okay, well, let's go ahead and jump in here to some of the background that we're seeing overall. So, what we're really starting to see here across government contracting is that AI is really becoming table stakes in the industry. Um, Overall, commercial adoption of generative AI, we talk about AI just in general, right, across all markets. It's one of the, if not the most rapid expansion of technology, in history, right? 40% of all adults, at least right now, are, using AI in some form or another on a regular basis. And that's, light years ahead of even, the internet or PCs or other recent technologies. So in general, AI is really revolutionizing just about everything that's out there right now. What we've seen, of course, in government contracting specifically, supporting our customers, is that everyone from small businesses up to, the top 10 federal systems integrators really want a piece of this AI, right? They want the efficiency, they want the ease of, searching through and identifying relevant past performance and quickly finding like reuse content, right? There's all kinds of different use cases. And so, we've seen a ton of growth as a result of that. What I've also included here that I think is really interesting is you'll notice, DHS's procurement chief, Paul Courtney here. I've just included a little snippet where he was actually talking about, DHS is using AI internally for, market research, for contract document review. I mean, even when we go to things like industry days, right, and we hear federal officials talk, the message is pretty clear, right? It's we're using AI on the government side, and industry, should be doing the same. So it's really, really broad adoption, and it's becoming, like I said, that kind of table stakes technology at this point. So obviously AI matters in a big way, but why does prompting specifically matter, right, in government contracting? Well, as we see competition, start to increase in all segments across all markets, right? We're seeing people are able to kind of upgrade that number of proposals, certainly that they're able to output or to submit to any government agency. We're seeing, that competition increase. And what matters more than ever now is, not only the speed and the volume of proposals and the volume of activity that your capture team can do, et cetera, but also the quality, right, of the outputs of your proposals of everything, right? And the good thing about AI is that it enables us to not only increase that throughput and that volume, the bandwidth side, but it also allows us to create better content faster, right? Which is important. But the way we do that is through prompting, right? And it's really important to have, a strong foundation of understanding how to use the AI effectively if we want to achieve those results, right? At the organizational level or even at the individual level. And of course, at the bottom here, just to put it in real terms, I mean, prompting is the way that, we give our team the ability to give their secret sauce to the AI, right? You kind of put your own spin on it. And so being able to have that control, prompt the AI in real time, super, super valuable. Um, okay, guys. So the impact of AI, right, in the space in general. I mean, like I said, right, dramatic increases in throughput we've seen, which of course leads to increased competition. But we've also seen improvements in things like win rates or proposal quality, right, reduced review timelines. And the difference in these teams that we've seen most effective, like from a metric standpoint, the teams who are having the most quantifiable success, is that, they're not just trying to kind of like click a button and automate away their proposal process, right? That's not the goal. The goal is for them to come in, ground the AI in their data and really empower their team, take your best and brightest and train them up, upskill them so that they can, make use of all the efficiency that AI has to offer. That's really where we're seeing, the best results, the most effective use of AI. And again, it's about kind of giving the AI your secret sauce, right? You want to kind of give the AI all the context, your relationships, all that stuff, throughout the process of working with it. So I want to go ahead and jump right in here, guys, to prompting itself, right? Just kind of talk through specifics and strategies and, what is prompting? How do we do it? Before we jump in, though, I want to pose just one more quick question here. How often are you guys using AI day to day, right? I know I definitely use it multiple times every single day, but I'm interested to hear from you guys too. Is this something where I know that we have a lot of novices? Are you guys how are using AI? Is it every day? Have you never used it? See a lot of, yeah, multiple times a day, daily. Yeah. I think for a lot of us, it's just become so important. I say as someone who works for an AI company, but yeah, use it every day. Yeah, I think, for a lot of us, it's just become so important to the way that we do things, especially I know at least for me, at work, you start to use AI and then all of a sudden you're the person that everybody relies on, right? So that's been interesting to see too. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and jump in here. So, what is a prompt, right? Very basic, right? A prompt is that set of instructions that we're going to give to the AI, right? We're going to tell it what we want it to do, the task we want it to perform. But not only is it what we say to the AI, those instructions, it's also how we say it. And so there's a little bit of art, a little bit of science to this process. And like I said, I want to make it simple for you guys. So I don't want to dive too deep into, any of the technical stuff. But just remember that it's a little bit of art, a little bit of science, right? We kind of have to balance those. The best analogy that we always give is to think of the AI kind of as, a capable intern, right? Someone who's very bright, right out of, great college, and they come in for the summer. They don't really know a whole lot of the context, certainly not about your business, maybe a little bit about the market, right? Overall. But they're very capable. And so if we empower them with that context, they're able to do a lot for us. And so that's kind of a good way, that capable intern is a good metaphor for the AI. And of course, the quality of the prompt that we put in is going to directly affect, the quality of what we get out. Um, Now, this is a good kind of visual demonstration, I think, for a couple different reasons. Not only, am I demonstrating that, the better prompt is a longer one, right? Which is what you see here. But also, in the first example on the left, I'm just saying, hey, write an executive summary for this proposal, right? I'm just telling it what I want it to do. But like I said earlier, we really want to give it the how too. We want to, tell the AI how we want that task to be accomplished. And so, hey, write an executive summary, sure, for this proposal. Make sure you use our cybersecurity past performance, write in a persuasive tone, emphasize the success, that we've had in the past. In this case, right, I've said implementing zero trust with FEMA, and hey, that PM is actually, someone who used to be over there on that program that we're working for, with FEMA, and we've had some success over there. You give the AI all this context, you give it the how, right, and that's going to empower the AI to go away and really give you a high quality result on the first pass, which is nice. So, the first thing we always say is talk like a human to the AI, right? When I end up in training calls with people who've never used AI before, the first piece of advice I always give is, hey, it's not a Google search, right? We're not going to go in and give it keywords, or anything like that. We're going to talk to it like it's that intern, right? Like it's a human. And that's a very kind of, we talked about art and science. That's a very kind of art approach to prompting. Just talk to it like a human. And if you're anything like me, you probably want a more repeatable system, right, than that. And so these acronyms here are a great way to kind of think about prompting. So I have a couple here, kind of for example, and we'll walk through a few, in-depth examples in a second. But basically what we can think of this as is, for each letter in the acronym, that represents one sentence in our prompt, right? Pretty simple. So if I wanted to take the example of car, for instance, right? Let's say I want to put together like a bid no bid decision based on capabilities and gaps. So I could say, the context is, hey, you're going to be my federal business development manager. You have years of experience making bid no bid decisions, right, based on capabilities of our company as they relate to the PWS. The action that I want you to take is I want you to review this PWS against my past performance or whatever it might be, and I want you to come back and give me the result I want is a table that gives me the PWS requirement right next to any demonstrated capability, verbatim text from our proposals or whatever it might be. And then some analysis. Is this a capability that's 5 out of 5, right? Or is this kind of a partial capability? Is this a gap for us? And so if we think of it that way, each of these acronyms, kind of one sentence per letter, it helps us kind of have that repeatable system. So I want to walk through a few of these examples here in real time. Now I know everyone likes a little PTO, so I wanted to start off with PTO. I actually just had this thought last night as I was thinking, kind of working through some of these slides. I was like, let's do a fun one. So this is PTO, right? And I really like persona prompts, right? I like using the concept of a persona. Act as a, experienced federal proposal manager. Act as a, procurement official, contracting officer. Review my proposal, whatever it might be. In this case, though, you can see the breakdown, right? Which is, hey, I give it the persona. You're an experienced federal proposal manager. You have deep expertise in analyzing performance work statements and translating those, back into actionable requirements. I want you to carefully read the PWS, right? Extract each requirement. This is the task that I'm giving the AI. Break it down line by line, paragraph by paragraph. Make sure you capture all those individual tasks, obligations. And then finally, the objective, right, the result or the end goal here that I want back is a table. So I say output a table. I clearly want you to list each requirement with the following columns, and then I just tell it the columns. So this is a great example here of a shred prompt, right? We can give it PWS or a statement of work, and this prompt will go through line by line and just shred all those requirements out into a table for us, and tell it the columns we want, and it'll go ahead and do it. So I love these frameworks because it kind of makes it a little more science than art, like I said. Couple more examples here, guys, and I won't go through each of these super in depth, right? But core, this is another good framework that I've had some success with, right? Working with some of our customers is, the context. That word context keeps coming up too, and we'll get there. But context is really, really important. As much, kind of background information, especially with some of the new reasoning models that have come out, the more background information we give at a high level, definitely the better. Objective, you keep seeing that one come up too, is, hey, we want to make sure that, the tool knows exactly what we want out of it, what that response is going to look like when it comes back. This is an interesting one too, because you see evaluation. So we can actually tell the tool, hey, make sure that, the result is XYZ. Here's my evaluation criteria. What defines a good result back from the AI? Just tell it that right up front. And then it knows, okay, well, now I need to prioritize these things. So I always find that that's an interesting way to look at it, and sometimes that kind of turns the light on for people too. And then the last one here, of course, similar scope, just kind of explaining the scope of what we want the tool to do. Defining the audience is a great one. So, hey, we're creating this for, this is marketing content. We're creating it for LinkedIn, or this is a proposal, right? We're creating it for, review based on the evaluation criteria. And then examples at the bottom here too, you see that's an interesting one. Initially, in kind of the early days of large language models of AI, examples were really important. And so, we would go through, we would write up a prompt, and then we would put in like an example table, for example, or we would give it like an example paragraph to mirror, to mimic. What we've seen though is as the models get better and better, the results that we get back from the AI are better and better without those examples. So it's interesting. Be cautious with examples, guys, when we're going through. We don't want to give the AI too much of that kind of rigid structure. Hey, follow this example exactly. Because the more we put the AI into a box, again, especially as these models have kind of gotten more advanced and better, almost the less creative the model's able to be and the less human that result's going to feel. So we still want to, walk that tightrope, give the AI a little bit of leeway as far as, how we want it to respond to us. But those examples can definitely be helpful, in certain cases. Um, okay, guys, so these are just some general best practices, and I always like to, include something like this. Just gives you guys an overview, right? A clear overview of do's and don'ts. Some highlights here are that, of course, we want to provide context. We want to be specific. Assigning a role, those personas that we talked about a second ago, super important, obviously. And use examples where you feel like you need to. We'll talk about step by step prompting in a second, but I like the last one here, refine iteratively. This is important, right? When the AI gives you something back, don't be afraid to argue with it, right? And in fact, sometimes a quick exchange with the AI gets you right to that level where you want to be much faster than trying to start from scratch, right? With a new conversation or a new chat, start from scratch and go back in. So iteratively refining is really, really important. Um, and then what we don't want to do is we don't want to assume, that the AI knows our business or the market, or, we can really be specific. We can give the tool a ton of context and give it all that information that it needs to make those decisions. Again, if we think of it as, kind of our intern, right? It doesn't know everything about the market. It doesn't know everything about our business, but it is smart and it can handle it. And so that's definitely, something to think about. Um, and also, I see a lot of people who want to come in and copy and paste other people's prompts and kind of have, repeatability. And that's something that, of course, I've worked with so many customers to boil this right down to a science and build prompts and build, workflow assistants and things for them specifically, based on what they want. Um, but I feel like they're so much more impactful when you write your own. So definitely good to have some kind of tools in your tool belt as far as out of the box prompts go and kind of saved prompts. But don't be afraid to write your own, right? I want to break it down and make it kind of easy for you guys to do just that. So of course, you don't want to settle for vague responses. You want to kind of break down some of those more complex tasks, and above all, just experiment, right? Play around with it. Um, all right, guys, so let's go ahead and move on here to the next section. What I want to touch on now are some of those more advanced prompt engineering strategies. Some of these strategies that we've seen really effective, but maybe, right out of the box on day one might not be 100% necessary. So the first thing that we will cover off on here is just prompt chaining, right? And this is something that is super important. Essentially, if we have a large, complex task, we're asking the AI to do, let's just take the example of writing a proposal. I could come in and just say, hey, write me a proposal, in response to this RFP. But the reality is that, at the end of the day, the AI, might kind of get overloaded with that request, right? And it might not have the ability either to output enough text at once, right? So we always want to be mindful of the output limit, that we're working with any given AI model. And it might not also have the context window. And so this varies model to model, right? The amount of information that the AI can reliably, interpret and work with at one time. So what can be really effective is this, right? Deconstructing the task, chaining different prompts together. For example, I have a good example from, I'm trying to think through here, from Larry, our director of customer success at Procurement Sciences. When I first joined Procurement Sciences, he was giving me some prompt engineering training, which is awesome. Love how that goes full circle. And essentially, he said, okay, look, if I wanted to, let's say, compare, this RFP and this resume and tell me if this candidate is a good fit, against this RFP. What he did is he went into a new chat and he said, hey, I'm going to give you a resume, ingest it, analyze it. And then I'm going to give you a PWS, ingest it, analyze it, right? And then ask me if there's anything else, that I might want to give you, any other context. And your third step is going to be, hey, go ahead, and analyze the resume, compare it to the PWS. Tell me, right, if this candidate might be a good fit for any of the key personnel requirements, just as an example, right? Ready, question mark, and then he would hit enter, and the AI comes back now and says, yes, of course I'm ready, let's go ahead and get started. So we've kind of put together this chain of prompts before we've even started the task. And that's a great way to kind of preface your AI chat, make sure that the AI stays on the rails that you want it to be on, and also just break it down into multiple steps so that those little individual pieces are more manageable for the AI. You'll see in this section as well, guys, at the bottom, there will be some little prompt tips. Some of them are prompts, some of them are kind of more general tips. But like we said, we'll send the slides out afterwards. So you guys will have all these fun prompts and different things to play around with. Um, so we always want to ground the AI in our business as well, and or in really in whatever we're doing, right? If it's even if it's not a work use case. Um, in our use case, of course, in government contracting, we want to make sure that the AI has access to, our past performance, to some of our boilerplate content, to resumes, to, product spec sheets can be really, obviously a great resource for the AI to have. And so what can be really helpful are RAG-based solutions. So these are retrieval augmented generation technologies, right? Where you can upload data, for example, Awarded AI integrates directly into like SharePoint, for instance, right? You can come in, Awarded AI ingests your data from SharePoint, and then when I ask a question, Awarded AI can go and, look for that context in my past performances, in my proposals, and come back, and really give me an informed result. And so whether that's you just kind of playing around in like a personal chat gpt and trying to paste in different information about your business or tell the AI about your company right every time, or if of course you're working with a point specific solution that's context aware, we always want to make sure that the AI is grounded in our business. And not only those hard metrics, but I think what people often miss is tell the AI your strategy, right? Tell the AI some of the kind of softer pieces of it, right? Too, because you want the AI to know, hey, if we're an 8A small business, we can probably still sub on other opportunities. And our strategy here is, well, we have a mentor, right? We're in a mentor protege, situation here. And so we're still on the lookout over here for other opportunities that might fit this profile. And you can really give the AI, a ton of different context for it to be aware of, which is nice. And then a little prompt tip down there at the bottom, which we'll leave for the slides afterwards. Of course, we already talked about, prompting with personas, right? This is something that is super effective. I really love this. This is one of the things that I teach people, right off kind of right off the bat here. Whether we're asking the AI to be our proposal manager, right, to be our proposal writer, to be, hey, think like a capture manager, what's my strategy here? What are my win themes? Or even, think like the customer. This is one that's really compelling and that we've had a lot of success with is, hey, here's an RFP, here's a proposal. Go ahead and, look at the evaluation criteria, think like you're a proposal evaluator for the government or for the customer, and then come back and give me a focused review, of my proposal. That's a really good persona to use and, just kind of across the, review in general, the review, proposal review as a use case, having the tool take on the perspective of the customer, can lead to super compelling results there. Really, really effective. Hey, base it on the evaluation criteria, score me out, right, in a mock scoring, and you'll get some really great results there as well. Um, Okay, so refine and repeat. So this is, what I was speaking to earlier as far as iteration, right? We always want to make sure that, when we get a response back from the AI, what I've seen early on with people when they come on to awarded AI is that they can really quickly get frustrated, right? They might, ask a question, the AI might come back and give them something that's not exactly what they were looking for, right? And so we never want to stop there, right? The goal is we want to go through, we want to iterate, we want to ask a follow-up question. Because the thing is, the more context you give to the AI, even through your conversation, right, the better it'll do next time, right? Or the more we can learn about how to prompt better next time, or whatever it might be. And so refining, right, prompts, but then also iterating, piece by piece here as the AI gives me something back. I say, hey, that looks good, but actually, I was hoping you'd focus more on this. Or can you put it in a work breakdown structure? Put it in a table, reformat it, that kind of iterative, process is really, really important. As is, I think, interrogating the AI too. Everyone always, is like, oh, what do you you mean by interrogating. But I think the ability to go through and argue a little bit with the AI, hey, where did you get this? Give me a source citation for that. Really pulling those insights out of the AI can be super effective for us too. And yeah, I mean, definitely, feel free, guys. One of the biggest use cases that I always try to tell people, or one of the most effective use cases with AI is, hey, let's sit down, let's build a template for some of these prompts. Maybe not a prompt that's one click every single time, but let's build a general prompt template that works for us that we can, work back and forth from. We can start with it, right? It's just like in proposal writing, you don't want to necessarily start with a blank page. Well, when we're writing a quick little prompt, we don't have to start from a blank page either. We can work from a template and, really quickly accomplish, whatever it is that we're looking there for. Okay, guys. So some advanced prompt engineering strategies there. I know it's kind of a lot, right? There's a lot going on, and there's a lot more, obviously, I could talk about, but those are some of the most impactful things. What I'd like to do now is talk about the future of AI, not just in GovCon in general, but also when we're talking about prompt engineering, right? So, what's kind of happening in the market overall? How are things changing, right? What does the future look like? Really, it looks like context, guys. And so, prompt engineering, right? We talk about prompting. We said it in the beginning. A prompt is the instructions that we give the AI, right? It's the what, it's the how, but there's this shift happening in the market right now to context engineering. And this is partially as AI tools get more and more agentic, right? Which means that they essentially have more liberty, more tools to act on their own and kind of automate processes. What's really important is that we put those AIs in an environment where they have access to all the context that they need, right? And I think, for us, just at a very base level, from a prompting perspective, context is really important too. We want to come in and we want to make sure that the AI has direct access to all the information that it needs to accomplish the task that we're asking it to accomplish, right? Everyone's heard of hallucinations, right? Everyone's heard of the AI kind of going out on a limb, being creative, making things up for us. And, in order to avoid that, the best philosophy is if we want accurate results, we just have to make sure that the AI has the appropriate information to give us the result that we're looking for, right? Whether that's a web search tool, if we want it to go out and, do deep research for us, or, whatever it might be, putting the AI in that context rich environment is super important. Whether, you're working with an agent or, just yourself, kind of in a simple chat tool as well. Um, Now, this also relates to context window, which is interesting too. Ultimately, what the context window is, and we touched on it at a high level, but each AI model is going to have sort of a maximum amount of information of context that it can reliably work from at any given time. So, we talk about like NASA soup, for instance, right? Obviously, huge RFP, tons of amendments, tons of documents that were associated with it. And if I were to take each and every one of those documents and just wholesale paste every single one into a chat, right? Well, the AI's context window is, we're going to exceed it. And the results that we get back are, the AI is going to start to walk all over the place a little bit. And so there's a number of strategies that we can use to avoid this, of course. But, it's something to consider, the context window. And so, definitely important to know, are you working with like a Claude model? Are you working with a GPT model? Some of the newer models that we've seen, like GPT 4.1, Gemini 2.5 Pro, these models have million token context windows, which, for reference is huge, very big context window. And they can reliably hold and work with a ton of information at once, which is awesome. But some of these other models, I personally really like Claude, for example, for writing, especially Claude 3.7. It has a smaller context window though, so you have to be careful how you approach that, that process. Now, when we get into this, a good analogy that I've kind of included here is really from directions into, a GPS system, right? Prompting is we're giving the AI those directions, right? We're giving it, like MapQuest directions. Print out, hey, turn left here, give me a table, incorporate this wind theme. But with context engineering, we kind of reframe this. We're thinking of this process like a GPS, right? We're giving it not only the turn by turn instructions, but we're also letting it, know the ground that it's driving on, right? In the GPS example, we're kind of giving it the car to drive around in. And so, we basically are giving the tool everything that it needs to not only make that right turn, but actually to know when to make that right turn and when to go straight and when to change lanes. So, really kind of giving the tool all the information that it needs there. Okay, guys, so I'm kind of off on a wild tear here. What does this actually mean for government contracting, right? So we want to support, or we want to use tools that allow us in government contracting to automate these processes, or of course add efficiency to these processes that are multi-step, complex processes, multi-stakeholder processes, right? And so you can think of this as, like proposal gate reviews that you see here, compliance reviews, pricing analysis. What's important is when we start thinking about it from a context perspective and really curating that contextual environment that the AI is operating in, you know, we're kind of eliminating inconsistency or lack of simple flow across handoffs to different teams. One thing that I've seen really successful with our customers with awarded AI is from the capture side in awarded AI's pipeline, right? You can keep all your win themes and all your customer intel and your strengths and differentiators. Well, then the AI knows that, right? And when you start to draft content in the chat, for instance, or in another tool in awarded AI, it's going to know, we can attach that opportunity. And now that handoff has become seamless. So we've given the AI the context, right? From the capture team right into the proposal. It also allows us to ensure that consistency, right? So it's repeatable, right? Time and time again, we're easily able to have high quality results. Kind of takes a little bit of that burden off of the user, the individual proposal writer or manager, to go through and curate, all of the context in an individual chat session, right? Tell the AI about your company, tell the AI about your past performance. We don't want to do that every time, right? And so context engineering, giving the AI all that context on the back end, or kind of allowing the AI to work from that is, really, really important. And of course, it just enables, the future of this technology, which is really, going to be agentic in nature. Um, so how does the shift come in from prompt engineering, into context architects, and how does this, really kind of play out? Which is, we need to come in and start to, curate and tag our data. This is a huge, piece, right? If we want to give the AI access to all the data it needs to make the decisions or pull back reuse content or, whatever it might be, we need to be aware of our data, right? So we can come through and, certain systems like awarded AI have, processes built in to help us do that or to do some of that work for us or, whatever it might be. But our users still need to be aware, right? Each of the people who's interacting in our company with the AI still need to be aware of, what the data that the AI is looking at is, right? So we always want to prioritize citations, and you can just tell the AI, hey, give me citations, right? Anytime you want to. And keeping that data organized is a huge piece of this kind of context engineering, right, or context architecture, building that context rich environment for the AI. And then thinking about the tools, right? What are the different tools that the AI has access to? Does it have a web search? Does it have a deep research? Does it have an image generator? Does it have, the ability to go in? Does it have that RAG, that retrieval augmented generation, to go into files, right, and pull that back? And so, think about those tools. Think about the different options that the AI has in its, at its disposal, and how it might use them, right? And then we can tell the AI, hey, when I ask you a question like this, I want you to use this tool. Or when I ask you, maybe some other thing, I want you to do something totally different, but still use this tool, right? So it's nice to be able to tell the AI, kind of give it that instruction. And then we always want to be testing and monitoring, right? And then iterating, like we talked about, kind of changing for output quality. We want to monitor for hallucinations. We want to see those citations. I'm really, really big on in-text citations when it comes to AI, guys. If you've ever, sat on a training call with me or a demo with me, you'll always notice in-text citations right in line. I really like to know exactly where that information's coming from, right? And the AI will tell you. All you have to do is ask, which is nice. You can even tell it specific formats and different things, which I think is great. Um, the other thing is, what we've really seen effective across, all of our customers is when you start to bring on AI into your process, start with the low-hanging fruit, right? You want to start with the stuff that's easy, the stuff that's the most manual, the most tedious, right? Whatever those key use cases are that are really causing you guys, a headache in your business, that are taking up a ton of time, that are inefficient, that's where you want to start, right? Start with 5, start with 10. And once you go through and apply AI really effectively to automate those or to kind of change the way you do them and speed them up, you know, you kind of not only build that library of use cases, right, and add all that efficiency, but now your team's worked through some of the stuff that, is top of their mind, right? And in the process, they've learned, AI top to bottom, and they've learned how to, bring it on. Now they can go apply it to just about anything, which is awesome. So the key takeaways here, guys, from this section, those 1 million token context windows, right? They can handle full RFPs now. You can give it a, huge RFP, give it multiple past performances, you can give it tons of data. And so, that's really, really cool. That allows us to start building these, context rich environments. Um, the other thing is that as these things evolve, we're seeing that AI isn't just, some kind of trend technology that's out there. It's really becoming a key competitive advantage, a game changer, for the people who are using it effectively. And ultimately, it's not exactly what we ask the AI, right? Like we've talked about, but it's how we ask it, the data that we feed it, the context that we provide it, and even how we set up a flow, a step-by-step process, how we go through that workflow, that all can contribute, to the success of any given, prompt that we might, press send on. All right, guys. So the final section here, AI pitfalls to avoid. So I always want to give some cautions, right? Risks and warnings when we're talking about AI, and then a look at what some of those future trends might be too. So at a high level here, guys, some of these risks that I always like to include, right? Data privacy. We want to make sure, right, especially when we're working with sensitive information, CUI, right? We're in the federal space. Most of us on the call, if not all of us, probably are. And so data privacy, compliance, definitely huge. Not only at the federal level, we also want to make sure that we're complying with our company policies too. That's really, really important, right? We want to make sure that we're, on the right track. Um, and then we always want to make sure that, the outputs that we're getting are accurate, right? We want to monitor for bias. We want to look at hallucination. Are we getting those in-text citations, right? Are we getting, hyperlinks back out to source documents or web pages? We want to make sure that, those are in place and that the AI can back up what it's telling us, because these things still do happen. And then of course, ethical use. I don't have to tell you guys, right? But there are people out there who might, use AI, the power of it that we see as a huge opportunity to stay competitive in the market. They might use it, for nefarious purposes. And so it's always important to, again, look back at your company's AI policy. What do those, ethical uses look like for you guys? And where do you see any risks about potential use cases that might be unethical too? Um, and feasibility. This is a big one, right? The AI, the example I always like to use, the AI is not a calculator, right? So if I ask the AI to do long division for me, chances are, even with the newest models, it's probably going to get that math problem wrong. And they're getting better and better at this, the new models that are coming out. But ultimately, we want to know kind of what the limits of the AI are, and math, like I've just mentioned, is a big one, so that, the task we're giving it is, feasible and that we're set up for success rather than kind of walking into a situation where the AI is going to, make something up for us. Um, Now, in this case, guys, we did survey a couple people across the GovCon industry, and so I just have some survey results here. Uh, Basically, we asked how transformative, do you think that the impact of AI is on this industry? And you can see here that, tons of fours, tons of fives, 1 to 5, of course, being the ranking here. And so we had, it's kind of difficult to deny, right? AI is super transformative on the industry, as we talked about. And then we also actually asked teams, and this is interesting, how prepared is your organization for the change that AI, brings? And so that's one actually that I'd like to pose in the chat here too. Do you guys feel like you're, well prepared, like your organization is enabled to, be ready in the face of AI, bringing AI on? How do you guys feel about that? Because I haven't been out there in, the real world for a while now. I've been here with Procurement Sciences. So I'm interested to kind of hear from you guys. You feel like you're ready for all the change? Neutral, unprepared, very prepared. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. I think the good news is that it's not difficult to get up to speed with AI, right? It's all really pretty simple once we understand the technology, and we're lucky enough to work with some great teams who are really motivated to want to bring on AI and do so effectively. But we're always happy to be a part of these transformative processes too. Yeah, data management strategy needs updating to take the full value. That's definitely a key consideration. I mean, we want to make sure that, the data is not only optimized for use with the AI, but also that our users can actually make use of it too, right? Because we want that explainability, traceability, as they say in the industry. Okay, guys, cool. Well, here we have a slide on some trends. This is just, me kind of spitballing here, but I think AI is going to become a baseline requirement over the next couple of years here. If it already hasn't, I think, we're seeing that it really is already kind of a baseline for a lot of teams. Um, and what we're also seeing is that legacy tools, the tools that have been out there forever, are going to rebrand, right? And they're going to put AI kind of on the end of their name or all over their marketing material. But what we've seen is that those same tools are going to struggle, relative to AI first tools. And so it's interesting, trying to kind of take AI in an existing tech stack and, sort of figure out how to best make use of it versus some companies who've been AI from the get-go. We're also, I think, going to see an increased investment in workforce AI literacy, right? Webinars like this, different talks, people trying to upskill. I think that's going to be super, super important over the next couple of years here, because ultimately, if you have the skills to work with AI, you can be what 10 times as effective as someone who doesn't. Um, and yeah, I mean, AI is going to really define work, right? The way that things have been done. We'll see methodologies starting to change. We're already seeing some of that. Of course, this market right now is kind of, drowning in change, right? With the new administration and everything like that, and AI kind of taking hold. So definitely going to see some things, start to shift. But ultimately, I think the technology is going to get better and better. Right now, though, I think we're still in the infancy. I mean, I think the capability that we have right now, just out of the box on like a Chat GPT, doesn't even start to scratch the surface of where we'll be, 5 years from now, for example. So overall, I think we're really in for a fun ride here. And we're going to start to see, some jobs being replaced, right, as the AI can start to do some of these expert level tasks. But ultimately, I think what we're going to see too is we're going to need AI specialists, right? We've even seen now where certain teams in government contracting have this kind of one AI expert who, is kind of responsible for putting together the AI processes, for their whole team. And it's like, okay, now every team is going to need someone, who really knows how to make the most out of this if they want to be effective, right? And so I think upskilling is super, super important. And we're happy, of course, to be a part of that with our customers. And, I'm always happy to, blab anybody's ear off about AI. Um, Last slide here, guys. I just want to, just pop a little quote in here, which is the best way to predict the future is to invent it, right? And by using AI, by being a part of this change that's going on, we're all inventing the future in real time, which is super exciting. And I personally have just been so, I'm so lucky, so fortunate to have been a part of the journey with Procurement Sciences so far, and really, really excited to see where it's going to go from here. So I hope you guys all feel the same about using AI in general. It's really, really cool to see, the change that we can make. And with that, guys, I will open it up to any questions here in the Q&A. And of course, I've included some contact information. Feel free, guys, to reach out to me, connect with me on LinkedIn. Always happy to talk through, anything, any questions you guys might have. Don't abuse my phone number too much because my wife might not be so happy if I'm getting calls late at night, but definitely, happy to connect with all of you guys. Um, let's go ahead and take a look here at the questions. So I saw one earlier that I wanted to touch on here, which is, what recommendations do we have for AI reviewing proposals? And this is an interesting one. I kind of touched on it during the webinar, but having the AI take on the persona, right, of a government evaluator, super, super effective. It's one of my favorites that I always show to people in like a first training or second training as we're kind of getting up to speed with using the AI is, hey, click this button. The AI is going to be your proposal evaluator, and it can come back and score you. And now, kind of depends how we ask it. Do we want it to score 1 through 10 or, 100% to 0% or whatever? But it'll come through and give us, here are your deficiencies, here are your strengths in each category, right? Here are some recommendations I have to improve. And so that's a really good use case that I always throw up there. And I think in general, if we're talking about reviewing for compliance, probably chunking up and being specific, hey, are we compliant with these requirements? Go, look through the proposal and make sure, rather than giving it, a whole proposal, a whole, RFP at once, and just saying, are we compliant? We want to be a little more specific probably when it comes to reviews. That would be my advice for sure. What is LLM? That's a great question. So an LLM is a large language model, and I apologize if I was at any point too technical throughout the call, guys. It's trying to boil it all down if I can. But LLM stands for large language model, and that's basically just the model that major AI companies like OpenAI or Google or Anthropic or Meta are training, right? That's the AI that we think of. So you think of like a ChatGPT 4.0, right? That's a large language model, for example, or Claude 3.7 would be an example of a large language model. Compulsive proofreader. That's a great one. Yeah, definitely use the AI for proofreading. That's awesome. Let's see. Can you give examples of how you can iteratively prompt AI? So, taking that first output, what's a good follow-up question to get a good final product? Well, I think, it kind of depends on the use case that you're working through, right? If, let's say, for example, I'm working through a proposal review. Okay, we're talking about proposal review. If the AI comes back to me and what it's giving me is maybe a little fluffy, right? It's telling me this is something that, might be common. If we're not really explicit about how we want the AI to review, it's going to come back and say, hey, things, look pretty good. Maybe here are a couple gaps that I see, right? But it's fluffy. It's not. I really want, in a review scenario, I want the AI to cut right through, cut to the core. Give me what it is that I'm looking for. Tell me how to get better, right? I want harsh feedback. And so in that case, I would come right back to the AI and I would literally just say, you know, this is fluffy. I want harsh feedback. Cut right through. Tell me exactly, what's wrong with my proposal and how to make it better, right? And I think that's where, talk like a human kind of comes into play too, because you don't want to be afraid to just jump in and just tell the AI exactly what you're thinking. I mean, sometimes I'll just kind of like say it out loud to myself, like under my breath, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's what I would say if, Summer, for example, our marketing manager, if she was here next to me, that's, exactly what I would say to her. So here's what I'm going to say to the AI. Um, have any favorite prompt techniques to ensure your responses are unique? That's great. That is one that's really important. Unique results, of course, are super important when it comes to the AI, and we've even heard from from some people, prospects or different people that we've talked to in the market space, the government even, that with the rise of AI tools, especially everyone can use ChatGPT, right? They're starting to see more and more kind of very generic proposals that are very similar in nature. And so really the key strategy there is you want a tool that's domain aware. You want a tool that allows you to give it your company information, and you want a tool that is going to have your past performance, your all your capabilities, and is going to speak from your company's perspective. So really something that's domain aware. Let's see here. So how do you determine the best platform to use? Is there a best in class, or does it depend on what you're trying to accomplish? That's a good question too. So I think there are a lot of different options when it comes to large language models. And ultimately, if I was boxed into just one large language model, I probably would go a little bit crazy because the space is changing so rapidly, right? There's the ChatGPT, there's the Anthropic. So I would say you want to prioritize a system or solution that allows you to use different large language models, right? Experiment with the new technology, come back. And again, back to like a domain aware, a system that's aware of your company information. That's really how you're going to, get the most mileage and the most efficiency out of a tool, is one that's specific, that's trained, with your company data, that incorporates your past proposals, that incorporates your company profile. That's what we've seen more effective, than anything. And so, of course, shameless plug here for Awarded AI, right? That's exactly what we do at Procurement Sciences. So, feel free to book a demo with us, guys. It'll probably be me on the demo. So I'd be happy to, talk through any use cases that you guys have, or, anything like that, as far as how to select, an AI system that'll work well for you guys. Okay, I'll do a couple more, just a few more questions here. Let's see. So, do you have any recommendations for minimizing hallucinations? This is a really, really good one. So, there's actually a whole school of kind of thought, or way that people talk about this, which is called anti-hallucination prompting. And so you can Google that. Um, I have a couple examples that I really like. Basically, you just tell the AI right at the top of your prompt, or if you have the option to do like a system prompt, or wherever you can give instructions to your AI depending on the tool that you're working with. But right up at the top of your chat session, just tell it, hey, never make anything up. Never hallucinate. Never go through and be fluffy. I want you to always give me direct in-text citations anytime you make a claim. Tell me exactly where that came from. And I've found those in-text citations to be really effective because the AI kind of is forced to, be truthful because it'll say something and then immediately, has to have the citation to back it up. So I really love to ask the AI to do just that, which is put those in-text citations in there. Let's see. Do you think it's worth getting certified in AI? Would that help someone thinking of career paths in proposal management and proposal writing? AI is always evolving. I think that's a great question. I mean, so at Procurement Sciences, we do offer a certification program where our customers can go through and get certified. We've even started to see some job postings where, we're, hey, awarded AI certified, proposal manager or writer. I definitely think it's worthwhile, especially if it's something that you can do pretty easily if it's a program that's offered to you, if you're a customer of ours or just in general. I mean, I think it's definitely worth it to do, even if, in this case, it seems like you're kind of looking for, exploring career paths in proposal management. But I think everything's, going to continue to change so radically that AI skills are going to be really, really important no matter what, career path you decide to go down. So I would definitely suggest, any training or certification in AI, that you possibly could get. I would recommend it for sure. Let's see here. When generating Let's see here. When preferring LLMs with limited context windows, what strategies can we follow to iteratively build a proposal response? This is a good one. So I mentioned on the call that Claude 3.7 is kind of my preferred model for writing. I love to use the Claude models. I just think they feel kind of human. But I also mentioned they have a limited context window. What I've found and what our customers often will do is you take your kind of baseline compliant outline, right? You have your sort of what L says, and you can have the AI then, search through past performances, search through company information. The end result in that case that you're looking for is kind of an annotated outline. Give me past performance, metrics or citations. Give me, my win themes peppered throughout. And it kind of boils down all this information into a nice, concise, annotated outline. And then, like a Claude model, of course, can take that annotated outline section and go ahead and write it for you. So that's one of the ways that I've seen our customers be really effective is really quickly you build a compliant outline, maybe a compliance matrix, and then you come back and say, okay, cool, we have the baseline. Go ahead and annotate it, not only with the requirements, but also, with our strategy, with content, with examples, metrics from past performance, and, use that kind of annotated outline as the basis for your response. Let's see here. We'll do just a couple more. Why do LLMs love the M dashes so much and lean so heavily on triplets? This is so funny. I think, and of course, the rest of the question here is basically, hey, any suggestions on how to make this more human the way it writes? So the first part of the question, those double dashes, I think it's because those AI models are trained on a lot of academic material. And I remember myself in college, I was definitely writing with a lot of those dashes, maybe a little pretentious, but I was trying to, appear really smart. I think that's the case, probably with a lot of academic material. And so the AI is trained, on a lot of those research papers and different things as a part of its training data. And so you see those M dashes come through in the responses. There's a ton of different ways that we can make it actually feel more human though to us. And so, you could tell the AI, hey, here's an example of my writing, right? I always want you to mimic this style of writing. I've seen people actually give the AI like a proposal and say, take this proposal and turn it into a style guide or a set of instructions that I could give, to a junior proposal writer or something to have them write in the style of our writing, right? And in that way, you kind of create a little style guide, and then you can give that back to the AI as well, and it'll sort of, mimic the way that you write. You can also just say, hey, write like a human, write a little more naturally. It depends model to model, right? In terms of those results that you're going to get back. Um, Awesome, guys. It seems like we just have 1 minute left, so I want to go ahead and just again, thank everyone for joining today. Absolutely privileged to be able to present to so many great people, and just happy to be here as always, and happy to present to you guys. Please do feel free to follow up, like Summer mentioned, with any questions that you have. We'll get those answered for you for sure, and reach out if you need anything, guys. I love to be of service as often as I can. So, thanks for joining, everyone. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. As Sam mentioned, we will be sure to reach out within the next 24 hours with the recording and answering all of your questions that we maybe didn't get to. So, again, thank you guys all and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, guys.